Lich was arrested 9 days ago for breach of a non-communication condition of her release conditions from earlier, so way back in March, for taking that picture with a fellow convoy organizer, Tamara Lich. But she never actually really communicated with Tamara Lich, and that's what's prohibited in her bail conditions. She just took a photo with him, and one of the stipulations of her bail conditions are that if she is in and around other convoy organizers, communicating with them, that it happens in the presence of her lawyers. Well, guess who her lawyers are? Mm-hmm. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. The room was teeming with Tamara's lawyers. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting today because the homicide detective assigned to Tamara's case, a 22-year veteran of the force in Ottawa, Chris Benson. If you are murdered in Ottawa, I can't imagine that your case will ever be solved, because this guy didn't know who John Carpe was. He had no idea. He was asked on the stand, "Who's that guy?" "I don't know who he is." It was John Carpe, the head of the Justice Center. Then he was asked, "Who is John Carpe?" "I don't know who that is." So this police detective, he said, Tamara took a photo with this man, and this photo constitutes a breach of her conditions, but he didn't know who her lawyers were at all. He had no idea. So how can he breach her on a condition that says you can be with this guy if you're in the presence of your lawyer, when he had no idea who her lawyer was? Worse still, they extended this Canada-wide, nationwide warrant to pick her up on a non-communication breach, something Detective Benson testified that he had never done before. But it sounds like they sent 2 detectives, a supervisor, and another cop all the way from Ottawa out to Alberta, to Medicine Hat, to grab Tamara. They're treating her like she is public enemy number 1 instead of a cute little Métis grandma who embarrassed Justin Trudeau on an international scale. And that's really her crime here.
Did you say they sent 3 cops to bring her in? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think actually it might have been 4, but definitely 2 homicide detectives and a supervisor.
So that's from Ottawa. And of course, the Medicine Hat police couldn't be happier to comply with Trudeau. They're excited. Maybe they'll get promoted or something. So you had 3 or maybe 4 cops from Ottawa fly all the way out to Medicine Hat. And then you had the Medicine Hat cops on this. So this is like a major vice squad. This is like the major drug cartel squad, the mob squad. This is a major policing effort. I don't know if there was at the same time a larger police effort in the country. And of course, they took the homicide cop, because that's the level of gravity here. Someone taking a selfie. I want to know how it went. I followed your live tweets on the subject. You were watching this thing and tweeting along, and it sounded like the judge was not sympathetic.
No, this is a completely different judge than the one who reduced her bail conditions, which allowed her to go to the George Jonas Freedom Award banquet. That judge made remarks about, thought policing, and that, we're here to police behavior, but not thoughts, when the Crown was asking for very specific restrictions in Tamara's bail conditions. This one is quite different. If I had to guess, I would say on about a 60% chance that he would probably let her out of jail on Friday, when we will get his judgment. But he was allowing the Crown to ask questions I thought had absolutely no relevance in this case. For example, asking Detective Benson, who should be solving the 20 plus unsolved homicides in Ottawa, whether or not the convoy protests from February had any impact on the feeling of Canada Day. What has that got to do with anything?
Feeling. How do you measure a feeling? Was it a 4 on the feeling scale, or was it a 7 on the feeling scale?
Well, and what has that got to do with Tamara, who has been in jail since the 27th? She is not accused of organizing any protesting on Canada Day. She wasn't even free on Canada Day. But this Benson said, oh, like there were fewer families out there on Canada Day, and the ceremonies were a little more subdued on Canada Day. Well, that might have something to do with the Ottawa police scaring the daylights out of people for 10 days in advance, and Justin
blockading it, and blockading the whole thing,
Exactly.
and seizing flags. To ask a
Maybe they were
policeman,
there. Maybe they were there protesting the fact that a little lady is a political prisoner. That can really throw a pall over your celebrations, don't you think?
Yeah, and I wonder if that cop even went to the Hill to observe, or if he was just regurgitating what the CBC media told him. What a disgraceful question by a disgraceful prosecutor. It's a disgrace that the judge allowed it, and it's a disgrace that the cop answered it, as if the cop has any expertise in feelings. But looking at it another way, it's a perfect question, because we all know this isn't about actually solving crimes.
Exactly.
We all know this wasn't actually about breaking the law. We all know we are far outside the norms for bail. I've never in my life heard of anyone being imprisoned and not granted bail for, quote, inciting malice, mischief, not malice, inciting mischief. No one's being charged with mischief, but this little grandma is being charged with inciting mischief that no one else is being charged with. So that's sort of weird. No bail, 9 days this time around, plus however many days the last time around. I remember my very first day as a law student in criminal docket court, and someone who received a sentence for sexual assault. I think it was a 30-day sentence he received for sexual assault. And that's what this little granny has now served, almost coming up on 30 days for having the wrong attitude. So in that way, so the feelings question, the attitude question is highly appropriate, because she's a political prisoner, and it's all about feelings. Remember, this is the same Ottawa police force that put out a tweet a few days ago saying, we're closing replies because this should be a safe place, because they were threatening people on Twitter. People were clapping back, and they were censoring people. The Ottawa police force is no longer a credible, objective, safe police force. They are political, they are woke, they are censorious, they're coloring outside the lines of their regular authority. And it is no surprise to me that they put arresting this grandma ahead of actually solving crimes. What a disgrace.
Well, and, to put this into some larger context, in Winnipeg, an Antifa member, completely weaponized by liberal and police rhetoric, that convoy protesters were white supremacist, violent Nazis. These are people who go through their life saying that I'm going to punch a Nazi. And then when the TV tells them the Nazis are in town, what do you think they're going to do? He took his Jeep, drove into a convoy protest, hit 4 of them through his own ineptitude. He didn't kill them. He just injured them. He was out on bail the very next day. And yet Tamara, she's held in jail for 9 days this time for breach of a non-communication condition, which is completely unheard of. And you have to remember, they tried to breach her on conditions for simply accepting this award. Yeah. They were trying to get her. They didn't want her to attend this award ceremony. They tried to breach her before. Now they're just breaching her after the fact. They're trying to teach her a lesson.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.